Let's start on Pei Dalet Amud Aleph. We didn't finish the last.
Yeah, we're done on the last section.
Last piece of this parak. We thank Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. It's a little brighter. And in the source of our learning, we should have Beis Mikdash immediately. We're learning for Shleima for Tali Ben Menucha Bela. Else that needs her for Shleima, for Israel, and for the hostages. Okay. So it's like this Zor Shishimish B'Mikdash. The Mishnah gave us a list of people that were killed, even though it wasn't like killed by the court, and then finished off saying that there's a machlekes about a zar. A zar means a stranger. A zar, a non-kohen that serves in the temple. It's machlekes Rabbi Kiva and the Chachamim. Rabbi Kiva says that he gets the strangulation. Sages say that it's a death penalty from heaven. So the Gemara says like this: Tanya, Rabbi Yishmael Omer was taught in a brisa. Yishmael says, "Nemar kana v'azar karev yumas." Says a stranger that comes close is put to death. Now the word yumas doesn't always mean capital punishment. Yumas could also mean a death penalty from heaven. So he says v'nemar lahalan, but it says further on, kala karev el mishkan Hashem yumas. Anyone that comes close to the sanctuary will die. Malahalan b'deshmayim, afkan b'deshmayim. So when it says that a stranger that does the service is put to death, we're comparing that to someone that comes into the sanctuary when he's not supposed to, and over there it's a death penalty from heaven. So to here it's a death penalty from heaven. Rabbi Kiva says no. Nemer kan v'azar karev yumas. Here it says a stranger that comes close to do the service is put to death. It says that a prophet, a false prophet, is also put to death. Malal b'skila, afkan b'skila. Should be a death penalty with skila. Now, there's a slight problem, because our Mishnah said that it was, when Kiva holds, chenek, strangulation. Here we say that it's skila. Gemara's going to ask that in a moment. But Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, Malam b'chenek afkan b'chenek. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, no. The prophet, the false prophet, gets strangulation. He also gets the zar, the stranger that serves in the temple, is also strangulation. Now the Gemara goes through the two machlekes in there. It's a three-way machlekes, but the Gemara views it as two separate machlekes. Yeah. Because there's the group that says it's a capital punishment. That's Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. And there's Rabbi Shmuel that says it's death penalty from heaven. Then in the group that says that it's capital punishment, is it skila or chenek? So first we start off with Mike Mefagi, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva. What's the machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva? If this is capital punishment or if it's death penalty from heaven. Rabbi Kiva savar danin yumas mi yumas. If I look carefully at the words, by the zar karev yumas. By the navi it says yumas, put to death. Being done in yumas mi yamas. I can't look at put to death. Yamas means he will die.
Be killed when it's natural.
Yeah. When he will die. So yamas means that he will die means death penalty from heaven, but that's not what it says here. But here it says yumas means you put to death. Rabbi Shmuel savar done hedit mihedit ain't done hedit minavi. Says no, we have to learn a regular person from a regular person. You're learning it from a prophet. How can you learn a regular person from a prophet? Rabbi Kiva says, Kivan sheidiach ein lecha hedit gadol mizeh. If this is such a prophet, that's a false prophet. That's a regular hedit, right? Hedit in modern Hebrew, it's an idiot, like the word sounds, hediyah. But over here, it just means like just a regular person, not significant, insignificant. Micah Miflagi, Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Okay, so we had the first machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Are we learning from the prophet, or are we learning from a regular person? And now we have machlekes Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Befukted Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan. This is actually another machlekes. This is a machlekes between Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbanan, the Tanya. Navi shehidiach. If there's a prophet that causes people to worship idols, so that was the prophet that we were talking about before. Skila. Tanakama says it's skila. Reb Shimon Aimer b'chenek. Shimon says it's chenek. So this is a machlokes about that, and whatever that is, we're gonna when we learn it to ask about the stranger that's doing the service, that same machlokes would apply. But we learned in the Mishnah Reb Kiva b'chenek. Our Mishnah says chenek. But here Reb Kiva says skila. Mishnah says trei tanai v'ali b'Rabbi Akiva. It's different tanaim that are following the view of Rabbi Akiva. Masnisen, when it came to our Mishnah, Reb Shimon v'ali b'Rabbi Akiva, that was the view of Reb Shimon. How Reb Shimon, they're arguing about Rabbi Akiva holds. Reb Shimon, according to Rabbi Akiva, that says chenek. Bryce says Rabbanon v'ali b'Rabbi Akiva, and the Bryce says the sages, according to Rabbi Akiva, where he says skila. And which is interesting here because what happened to Hereg? Did we have a Mishnah that discussed Hereg? Who gets the sword? Was that a Mishnah before? Hereg. Nefesh. No. So
wasn't it the Nizafas?
Dachas is a sword, yeah. But did we have a Mishnah that you see in the order of the Mishnayos here we have Elu Arba Mises, right? And we had Haniskalim, anyone that got the skila. Then we had the Ben Seremai, right? Then we did Hanisrafin. And then we did, now we do Elohina Nechnachim. What happened to Hereg? Hereg, Chenek. Right? It's interesting. It skipped the section. No, we had in Hereg Hanisrafim. We had about the murder. The murder is Hereg. So that's why it's over here. Elo Haneragin. Yeah, in middle of Perek HaNisrafim on page Ayin Vav, it says Ve'elo Haneragin. That's how it. I just didn't get its own title. Okay. Elohim Nechnakim. Following are people that get the strangulation. Be okay. Maybe you'll help me out. Hamaka Vavima is someone that hits his father or his mother. And the Gemara is going to say makes a bruise. Pain of Nefesh Mishal, someone that kidnaps, right? Steals a person. Zakin Mamri Alpi Bezdin. Zakin Mamri, what's wrong? Oh, you went to head yesterday? You did this already?
No, what you just finished.
Oh, okay.
That's also quiet.
Oh. Zakin Mamri Alpi Bezdin, someone that refuses to accept the law that the Bezdin issues, the big Bezdin, 71 judges. Navi Asheker, the false prophet. Hamasnab b'shem avedis government, someone that prophesies in the name of an idol. Abal Eishes, someone that lives with a married woman, adultery. And also, if the witnesses testify that a girl, a Baskayan, lived with another man, the Baskayan that was betrothed lived with another man, she gets straight, but the paramour, the man gets chenek. And the Zaymamin don't get the punishment of the girl, they get the punishment of the man. So Zaymame Baskayan and Bayala, they're all of these are cases of chenek, strangulation. Maka Vaviminal, now the Gemara explains, goes back to explain each of these what the Mishnah itemized. Now it explains each one, it elaborates on each one. Makavim minal. Where do we know that someone that hits his father and his mother gets chenek? The ksiv. Maka avi maisiumas. Easy. It says it get put to death. Well, how do you know that's chenek? So it's Gemara explains. Whenever it doesn't elaborate, say damafai or something, it doesn't elaborate. It doesn't say anything else. So it says misa. That means chenek, strangulation. The Gemara says, 1 second. How do you know that maka of the imay means that he bruised them? Maybe it means he killed them. Maka nefesh adam. You know, it says sometimes it's referring to death. So it's murder. Ema ad miktal. Maybe he only gets this punishment if he kills his father and mother, not if he just bruises them. The Gemara says, 1 second. A murderer usually gets the sword. If he kills his father and mother, then he gets chenek, then he gets strangulation. 1 second. Why are we so surprised? It depends which one is more severe. Right. If you say chenek is less severe, then you would say, yeah, a regular person gets chenek. No, it's like this. We're trying to say that this can't be the pshat. So how could this not be the pshat? Because what are you going to say? A regular person gets chenek, and if he kills a regular person, gets sayif, gets more severe. Then the father gets chenek. He kills his father. Gets chenek, which means that you're going. It can't be. So it must be that maka of v'imay means only a bruise, because it can't mean murder. But if you say it the opposite, then this would fit perfectly, which is a problem. If it fits perfectly, that's a problem, because now what we'd say is that how do you know this is bruising? Maybe if he kills his father and mother, then he gets chenek, which is more severe than hereg, according to that opinion, Reb Shimon, right? Okay. Now we have a problem. How do you know that it's bruise? Because they have a verse that says someone that strikes another man and he dies, he gets put to death. And I have another pasuk that says, "I baby he ko biyamas." Now, if you notice over here, it uses the word maka to strike. It also uses the word death. Well, why did it have to say vames? Obviously, maka doesn't mean death. Maka means just to strike. So therefore, when it says maka avivimai, it means just to strike. It doesn't mean death. But if it would have meant death, it would have added the word in, like we see by those other cases. Okay, v'itzrich l'michtav maka ish, v'itzrich l'michtav kol maka nefesh. Now we got off a little bit on a tangent to say that we need both of those cases to both of those psukim to teach me the full halacha of the death penalty, right, from murder, because it goes like this. The ikasav rachmana maki ish from if it would only say someone that strikes a man and he dies have a mina ish, only if he strikes an actual man. The bar mitzvah that he's already over the age of he's over 13, he says ish, but kata and lie. But if he's a child, then he won't be. There's no death penalty on that. It says that even a child there's a death penalty if someone kills a child. Because if the pasuk would say anyone that strikes a man, it doesn't say man, any soul. I could have thought even if it's a stillborn, even if it's a child that's 8-month gestation, which we think is not going to survive. So therefore it's shrichi. Therefore we need both. Okay. If we go back to the topic of hitting the father and the mother. Maybe, I'll go take it lenient. Maybe if he hits them, even if he doesn't make a wound. Why does it say he's only chayav misa if he makes a wound? If he makes a wound, that means he lets blood. Otherwise, there's no punishment. Amakra, the pasuk says, "Maka adam maka behema." So we're looking for a source that there's going to be the only death penalty of someone that strikes his father and mother would only be if there's also if he lets blood. Ma maka behema david b'chabura diksiv b'nefesh af maka adam david b'chabura. We think like this, that because we're going to do this comparison between striking an animal and striking the father and mother, So we say just like striking an animal, there's only chayav if he lets blood because it says nefesh behema. Makin nefesh behema yishal mena. If he strikes the soul, what's the soul? The blood. So if he lets blood, will there be a payment? So af maka adam, the same thing maka by the person is only if he lets blood. Maskef la Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, well, I don't get what you're saying. If he weakens him with stones, I guess he bangs him with stones that don't let blood, but he just really bruises him up, so the animal can hardly move. And you're going to say that there's no payment? What's going on over here? When you pay for an animal, you pay because there's a damage. It doesn't have to do with letting blood or not. The Gemara says, okay, so drop that comparison. We'll just say like this. It says makin nefesh behema, which nefesh, you don't need nefesh by behema, because really you're chayav for an animal even if you don't let the blood. So why does it say nefesh by the animal? So we do this imena yinyan. If it's something that's not relevant for this, so we'll apply it to another place where it is relevant, we'll apply it to the father. The nefesh over there is referring to now going on to the father. But you told me there's a comparison, and you can only do a comparison if you have that from tradition. That kal v'chomer you can do on your own, but the comparison you can only do if we know that what is the comparison if it's not the way what you said it. It says the comparison is the Tana D'Bei Chizkiya. The comparison is for what we learned from Tana D'Bei Chizkiya. Now Tana D'Bei Chizkiya was the Gemara said like this before. The rule, the rule of kamlei b'derabminai, where you only get the more severe punishment, right, not the lesser punishment. That will apply even if you don't get the severe punishment. But the sin was the sin of a severe punishment. So that's the Tana D'Bei Chizkiya. He says even if you did it b'shegeg, you still don't have to make the payment, because if it would have been b'mezid, it would have been a death penalty. So therefore, if you do it b'shegeg, you're also exempt, because the sin incurs such a type punishment. You don't have to make the payment. You don't get the two punishments. Now, where do we learn that from? We learn that from just like when it comes to hitting an animal, that it doesn't matter if you did it on purpose or you did it by mistake. We say that you have to pay. So too, when you're exempt from paying, it doesn't matter if it's on purpose or by mistake. You're going to get the bigger punishment. Even if you don't get the bigger punishment, you still don't have to pay. That was the comparison. The animal to man. Look over there, you do, and we didn't make a difference. Over here, you don't, and we don't make a difference. Okay. So the Gemara says, okay, so you use the comparison of animal to man, but not everyone holds of this view. This would only work if you hold of this Tana D'Bei Chizkiya. What's the comparison for if you don't hold the Tana D'Bei Chizkiya that says Kam Le'B'Ramani is even by a shogeg? So it says Ma Maka Behema L'Refuah Pater Af Maka Adam L'Refuah Pater. If the animal needs to have bloodletting, and you went over and you let the blood of someone else's animal, so you don't have to pay the damages. So too, if he lets the blood of his father because of bloodletting, he shouldn't have to pay. He shouldn't have to pay. He shouldn't get the death penalty. The father needed bloodletting. The Ibailahu, because the yeshiva had a question. Ben Maoshiach is Dam Lav. Is the son allowed to do the bloodletting on his father? So we learned from this that yes, because the Rav Masna Amar Ba'af L'Recha Kamaycha. You should love your fellow like yourself. Now, what does that mean? That just like for yourself, you would want to let the blood, because that was something that you needed for health reasons. So too, for the father, you would also be allowed to.
Be a problem like taking a splinter out of your parents.
Very good. That's this Gemara. Very good. Yeah. Yonatan and this Gemara have a similar comment.
Well, this also comes up a lot. With the doctor whose parents come to his office and you draw the blood under it, just, because you need blood tests, whatever.
Right.
So this was always asked for afterwards, no.
Yeah.
Health diagnosis.
Did they say that if you can get someone else to do it, it would be better?
Yeah. If you get, but you didn't always have a nurse.
Right.
Well, you could do it.
Also, the
better.
nurse don't always
I
do it
did
as
it-
good.
I did it better.
Not sure. Maybe in Hebrew it's closer, but fake strikes doesn't seem like you're doing anything good. Fake.
Yeah, that's a
strikes-
translation.
Strikes.
He's
strikes
saying
are-
he's translating the word makeh. We were saying makeh meant to let blood. No, it makeh together with nefesh meant to let blood. But makeh is to hit. So he's saying the way we translate makeh in English to strike doesn't necessarily mean. But in Hebrew it could go different ways. So we're
It doesn't sound like it's for anything good.
yeah.
Interesting.
So in bowling, that's yeah. Rav Dimi Bar Chinna Rav Dimi Bar Chinna says, "Maka Adam and Maka Behema strikes a man and strikes an animal." We have this comparison. Ma Maka Behema l'Rafua Pater, Rav Maka Adam l'Rafua Pater. Ah, exactly what we were looking for. The comparison between an animal and the man. We said we were looking for the hekesh, so now we have it. That we're saying that just like you're allowed to, if you let the blood of an animal, you don't have to pay. So if you let the blood of a parent, that's it's not punishable. Rav, let's see what that aleph is. It says Rav Papa. The Gemara says Rav, but the Bach changed it to Rav Papa. Leishabik lebrei lemishka silva silu. Rav Papa didn't, or Rav didn't let his son take the splinter out. Thought maybe when he takes the splinter out, he may let blood as well. Mar breder Ravina leishavik lebrei lemiftach le kavta dil machabel v'havale shigas iser. Mar, the son of Ravina, he didn't let his son, it would mean Ravina's grandson, open up a blister. He would open up a blister to let pus out. He was concerned that maybe there may be blood there, maybe letting out blood, and if it would be an unintentional prohibition. So 1 second. What's the difference if it's a son? Then no one should be doing this. It says someone that strikes another person is a negative prohibition. But the son, shigas chenek, that's much more severe. That's a capital punishment. So you don't want to do an unintentional capital punishment, but an unintentional negative prohibition would be okay, if for that, whatever the benefit is. The Gemara has a question, but we learned in the Mishnah, Machat shel yad is a type of needle that could be used it's used for sewing. It could be used also to take out a splinter. Little bayasakaitz, it's allowed to be used on Shabbos. It should be muktzah, right? Because it's used for sewing. But if you want to take out a splinter, so it's malach de leheter, keli shemalach de leser, you're allowed to use it for things that you need. So you can use it to take out a splinter. Now the problem is, you told me before that if there's a unintentional, you don't want to do something that may be an unintentional capital punishment. So therefore the son should not take out the splinter, it could be unintentional, but anyone else would be only an unintentional negative punishment. Here on Shabbos, when he takes the splinter out, it's an unintentional capital punishment if he lets blood, because that would be a malacha, right? It'd be skila. Making a chabura, avid chabura b'Shabbos.
You floss your teeth on Shabbos.
If you don't bleed.
So that's my question, because I've often heard that, but many times a person accidentally bleeds one
Then
thing.
you shouldn't say. It's the same thing with
The whole thing was
Is it about the
unintentional.
What is it?
Same thing with the whole list is about like the percentage, the likelihood of it bleeding. If you usually floss your teeth and bleed, you don't do it on Shabbos. If you do it every day and don't bleed, I think it would be allowed on Shabbos.
Right.
That's
Dr.
what
Stein
my
is saying,
question
but
is,
let's
if you
say
don't, but what-
normally you don't plead, but every once in a while you do.
I would not do it.
Because-
I'm not gonna
but
risk it.
Here it says that if it doesn't happen, then
Right.
you're allowed to.
Okay, and do they have that in the notes? Flossing teeth on
But I
Shabbos?
think flossing is much more common.
I guess this question.
Right.
Brushing your teeth also. As far as what?
Uh-huh. So the Gemara answers that over there, it's not such a problem. Making the wound on Shabbos is not such a problem because Asa Mekalkal who over there, it's not considered it's considered destructive. So it's not considered a real prohibition on Shabbos. Gemara says, Hani Chalaman Dam Mekalkal Pata, this is machlekes. It's not so simple. If Mekalkal, there's something destructive on Shabbos, is considered a malacha. If you hold that it's not a malacha, then good. Okay, we see what you're saying. Almanda Machayev, but according to the opinion that says Mekalkal on Shabbos is chayiv, Mekalkal b'chabura is chayiv. It's the opinion of Reb Shimon. Ma'yikalameimar. What are you going to say? Over here you have a regular malacha. Says man shamat leidam Mekalkal b'chabura chayiv. Who's the one that holds Mekalkal b'chabura chayiv? You have to look at the full package. That person is that Tana that holds that is Reb Shimon, the opinion of Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon is consistent in Hilchot Shabbos. It says Reb Shimon, that's Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon Ha'amar, but Reb Shimon is the one that says Kol malacha she'eina tzricha legufa pater ala. Any malacha that's not tzricha legufa, that you don't need it for its original purpose. The original purpose of making a chabura was if you needed the blood for something. But over here, you're not using. You don't need the blood for something. You just want to take the splinter out. So that's malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. But your intention is nothing to do with the purpose of the malacha, the way it was done in the Mishkan. So therefore, that's an unintentional malacha. It's a malacha shein tzrich legufa, and mixing it with Dana Miskaven. Malacha shein tzrich legufa, it's not for the same purpose, and therefore, Reb Shimon would hold that you're pater. So even the opinion that holds that they're chayiv, but over here would hold that you're pater. So that's how we get away with this, that you're allowed to use a splinter. You have to use a needle to take out a splinter on Shabbos. Okay. They asked Rav Sheshes the following question. Is the son allowed to work for the court? Be a shliach besdin, the bailiff, or some other court person that carries out the punishments. Is the son allowed to bring his father to court to do the whipping and all? Or interesting, if someone is being put in cherem, so there's a curse that they say, would the son be allowed to be the one to administer that curse on his father? Amar lei, Jesus responded, "Va'achar mi hatira." No one is allowed to do this. No one's allowed to hit someone else. No one's allowed to curse someone else. Why over here are they doing it? Allah kavod shemayim adif. But how are you allowed to do it to any Jew? It's only because for the honor of heaven. So achanami kavod shemayim adif. So if the honor of heaven is the exception for every Jew, that you're allowed to hit him or you're allowed to curse him for the honor of heaven, so the same thing would apply to the father. That the son can do this on the father. So Reb Sheshes has this opinion that the son should be allowed to be a court agent, carry out these punishments on the father. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. When there's a person that there's a mitzvah to hit him, but there's also a mitzvah not to hit him. This, for example, someone that gets lashes. Yeah, it's mitzvah to hit him. No, he can't be a judge on his father's case. But we're talking about here, he's not going to be the judge, but he's going to be the one that's carrying out the judgment to hit. Let's say it's Malchus. He happens to work for the Bezdin. He's going to be the one to give the Malchus. Is that allowed? No. Rav Sheshes says yes, but the Gemara and Shalom say you'll see. Take a look. So it says. if there's someone that you're supposed to hit, it's a mitzvah to hit, supposed to get 49 lashes, but also mitzvah shleila kaisi, but there's a mitzvah to stop at the 30, I said 49, 39 lashes. And there's a mitzvah to stop and not give him the extra lash, right? Not give him anything extra. So the mitzvah shleila kaisi, misha ain't a mitzvah kaisi. Someone that there's no mitzvah to hit him, in addition mitzvah shleila kaisi, for sure there's a mitzvah not to hit him anymore. Now the Gemara, this is very cryptic, but we don't know what it's talking about. My love, what does the brisa mean? Mitzvah must mean that both of these cases is that the person here didn't have Avera, and he's supposed to be getting lashes, and the Besdin sent a shliach to hit him. And the only thing is that the first case was someone that he wasn't related to the person, and he's doing the hitting. The second case is Habib Benaya Bach. The second case is talking about the son that he's not supposed to be a shliach Besdin. So for sure he shouldn't hit him any extra. He's not even supposed to hit him at all. We have a brisa that tells us that the son is not allowed to be the shliach Besdin on the verdict of his father. The Gemara says, "Loi." That's not the case. That's not what we're talking about. It doesn't matter if it's a son or someone else. Like kasha, but it's still not a problem. The difference is, if the makkah mitzvah, you're not allowed to hit him any extra. Makkah mitzvah means where he didn't have Avera, he's deserving of punishment, but you're not allowed to hit him anything extra. If it's b'makkah mitzvah, you're not allowed to hit him any extra. You're allowed to hit him, but you can't hit him any extra. So for sure, you're not allowed to hit him at all. For sure, you can't hit him any extra. So, and this is what it means. When it comes to a mitzvah, because he didn't have Avera, it's a mitzvah to hit him, but it's also a mitzvah not to hit him any extra. Because he didn't do any Avera, it's not a mitzvah to hit him. For sure, you shouldn't hit him any extra. Okay. So that's our new pshat over here. It has nothing to do with the son or father. That's nothing to do with it. So we don't have a question on Rav Sheshes from this. Toshima, another attempt to ask a question on Rav Sheshes that allows a son to be a shliach and to hit the father. Hayotzi lihareg, someone that's being taken out to be killed. Yeah, is already on his way out. Son. The son comes and hits him and curses him. Chayev. He's chayev. But if another person comes and hits him and curses him, it's pater. We asked, what's the difference? Why is the son chayev and someone else is pater? Why should the other person be pater? The son should be chayev misa, but the other person should be chayev at least malchus. Striking another person, you're not allowed to hit another person. They should be chayav malchus. Why over here we're saying that he's pater? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Chisda answers this, we're talking about where the person is supposed to be going out, being taken out to be killed. The person's not going. So the Shliach Besdin is hitting him that he's supposed to go. While he's hitting him, he bruises him, forcing him to go out. Now, if it's the son cannot be a Shliach Besdin because it's his father, right? He can't hit. But if it's someone else, he can be the Shliach Besdin. So if it's someone else, he's pater. But if it's a son, he's going to be chayev. So here it's a kasha on Rav Sheshes. Why is he going to be chayev? It's chayev because he wasn't supposed to be a Shliach Besdin. According to Rav Sheshes, he is allowed to be a Shliach Besdin. They should both be pater.
Isn't he considered a dead man?
That's what the Gemara is going to mention in a second. Rav Sheshes mukala b'shem mesar melat. Rav Sheshes says, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about when he's being taken out to be killed and he's refusing. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a regular case where he's on death row and someone strikes him and curses him. To make a difference between if it's a son or if it's someone else. It says, Yachi, that's the case, Achinami. So why isn't the other person chayiv to be chayiv malchus? He hits him. Where it says, for the other person, Acher Gabra Katilu, we consider this person dead because he's on death row. It doesn't matter. He curses him or hits him. Huh?
They illuminating. Almost. It seems much you anything.
We don't really say that. The Gemara says like this, really? Rav Sheshes says, Bisha Yashin Umeis Chayiv. If someone embarrasses a sleeping man and the person dies in the sleep, the person still has to pay for the embarrassment. Say there's someone sleeping and someone comes over and takes his clothing off. He fell asleep in shul. So that could be embarrassing. Person dies in his sleep. So nevertheless, he's chayiv to pay. So if the person never even experienced it, but there's embarrassment for the family, that's really what he's chayiv. Rashi says his son. He has to pay for that embarrassment.
So to the Yershim.
To the Yarshim. So here also, if he's cursing him, that would be an issue for the family as well.
Even if he doesn't, or this is only in the case.
Here we're making this comparison now. If the person dies in his sleep, the person that's on death row, where he's going to die. Both of them died, right? But nevertheless, we don't say that it's over. We say that he's still alive when just like in the case of embarrassment, he was still alive. He died later. He just never woke up.
Everyone dies later. This guy was supposed to die the day,
Yeah, one of them is supposed to die by court, and this person just died in his sleep. So, to resolve this issue, because we just said that the explanation is because we consider the person a dead man, so we say, well, but that doesn't fit, because even if he's really dead, he still has to pay. We're talking about that he hit him, he struck him with the type of strike that doesn't cause enough damage that he should really have to pay. No, now we're back to person on death row.
I don't understand the sleep. He's saying because Shema is like 160.
No, he dies in his sleep.
So that's just a natural death.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the difference if the guy dies 7 years later? I mean,
no, but he didn't notice that he was biased. He didn't know that someone embarrassed him.
So then it should just stop there. The question of Levayish and sleep.
Did he embarrass him? When? It could have been he started it.
Was Levayish Noah? I mean,
he was sleeping.
The point is,
I'm saying here's the case. Noah was drunk in the sleep and Ham was Levayish. Why is this any different case without going into details?
Because he didn't die after.
Because with Noah,
but he eventually died. This guy
Noah woke up and saw what his son did to him.
This didn't happen.
No,
this guy never saw it.
We're asking if someone gets embarrassed in their sleep, and then there's a payment that still needs to be made to the children afterwards. Because even though the person never experienced it himself, but there still is an obligation because of the inheritors. So too, someone that's being taken out to be killed, just because he's going to die, that doesn't mean that whatever you do to him should not affect the inheritors. And there should be, if you curse him or something, there should be some sort of
compensation.
Some compensation, at least to the family of what you just did to this person. See, even when the person actually dies, there's a compensation. So over here, where he's not dead, you're going to say, well, he's going to die. Well, the other person also was going to die, and he died, and you still had a compensation.
Strange case.
Yeah. Okay, so, which in order to wiggle out of this, you see, we have the basic problem here is we said that the son is chayiv and someone else that does it is pater. So we're trying to figure out why should the son be chayiv. We thought the son's chayiv because the son was not allowed to be a shliach bezdin. We said no, that can't be the case. We're not dealing with shliach bezdin here. Because Rav Sheshes, in order to resolve Rav Sheshes, who holds the son is allowed to be a shliach bezdin. So we're trying these other options. So maybe because he's considered dead. Said, so then why is the son chayiv? Says, well, maybe you're chayiv anyway. Says, then why is the other person pater? He said, so maybe it's because it wasn't a Shava Pruta. He said, so then why is the son chayiv? That's what we're holding now. Bam Ravami, 1 second. Bam Ravami, Am Rabbi Yechanan, forget about the son. He call Akash Em B'Shava Pruta like it. You get Malchus, even if it's not a Shava Pruta. The Gemara says, my pater de kamar, pater mi mammon. You're right, you get Malchus, but you don't have any monetary payment. Okay, the son is no monetary payment. Michlal, but that would imply the B'nai Chayev Mammon. Because if pater means pater from Mammon, then what would Chayev mean? Chayev Mammon. We said the B'nai Chayev, Acher is pater. Acher is pater from what? Not from Malchus, because he's getting Malchus. It's pater from Mammon. So what's the B'nai Chayev? Must mean the son has to pay money. So how does he pay money if there was no Shava Fruta? Rather, it must mean Chayev means Pedina. It means Chayev means that he gets not money, but it must mean the death penalty because he struck his father and his mother. If it's Dinai, then Hachanami B'Dinai. Then by the other person, it's also the Dinai, which means Malchus. So then what's the difference between the two? Why do you say Pater if he's not Pater, if he's Chayev? In the time of the Pater. Rather, what's the reason why the other person is Pater? Because the pasuk says, Menasi b'am chalesar. Talking about the cursing, if you curse another person, that's a negative prohibition. Not to curse another person, and there should be malchus. Well, it says a nasi, a leader, amongst your people, you shall not curse. Gemara says that's only ba'amcha, ba'isa ma'samcha, only if he's behaving properly. Now we go back to this person that's being taken out to be killed. Obviously, he's not behaving properly. Why? That's why he's getting killed, right? He's not oisa ma'samcha. So therefore, if someone curses him, they're going to be exempt. Hatenach klala. That makes sense because by klala it says that it needs to be amcha. But akam minalan, how do you know that there's an exemption if the person is not behaving properly? That if you hit him, it only says it by cursing. It says the makshina nakalakol because we have a comparison. Now, what exactly is a comparison? There's different versions of this in Rashi. They're very close to one another in the text. Well, Yihachi b'nai nami. So then why is the son chayiv if the father is not Eisa Maisamcha, if the father is not behaving properly? Oh, the Gemara answers Kadam Rav Pinchas b'Shas Tshuva, that he did Tshuva. This is a problem. Achanami b'Shas Tshuva, Yihachi achanami. If he did Tshuva, then the other person should also be chayiv. Right? Doesn't help. Amar Rav Mari answers, the tshuva only works if the person's going to survive. If the person's not surviving because he has the death penalty, then we don't say that there's an exemption of Eisa Maisamcha.
Is this still a Nasi case or this is?
No, any person that's being taken out to be killed, we're saying now that if there's tshuva
by the guy about to be killed? Or
Yeah.
tshuva?
Yeah.
That you're not allowed
How
to
do you
kill.
know?
You're not allowed to hit him.
But how do you know they're going to do tshuva?
The tshuva! I didn't do it, I'm sorry, I would never do this again. No.
That's only in the movie.
It was in the Blues Brothers, in the tunnel at the end.
If you say so.
Famous
Let me
scene.
take a look at the
You show the movie.
It's a famous scene.
everything is in the Torah, right? No, this is not it.
It's lucky.
They don't necessarily do it right.
Yeah, the Gemara says, Amar of Mari, one derives from the expression of your people that the prohibition applies only to one enduring among your people, not to one whose execution is imminent. It doesn't have to do with the tshuva, according to this. It has to do with nasibam chalei. So you can't curse a person that's going to survive. It's not going to survive, it's not a problem. The Gemara says, one second, if that's the case, yachi b'nai nami. that's the case, then the son should not be chayav either. Gemara says, no. For the son, there's another problem. Even if he's dead, the son does not let a curse his father. Right? You can't curse the father after he dies. What do you do about striking, though? Why is the son chayav for striking? Because it's still considered a chabura while he's alive. The only exemption would be the cursing after death, not the striking. The striking would be chayav. So why is another person not chayav? No, before he dies. We're not talking about that he died. We're talking about that that cursing, if the person's not going to survive, is not it's not punishable. By the father, it is. It's the son to the father, then it is, because the son can't curse the father even after he dies. So it doesn't matter. He can't say the makuyim shabamcha, only someone that's going to survive. Okay. So, but now, what about the bruising? The bruising, we say, doesn't matter if he's going to die or not. You can't bruise him. So what about the other person? I don't know the answer. Let's see. My Havi Allah. What's the conclusion over here? Is the son allowed to be a agent of the Bezdin to carry out these punishments on the father? A son should not be an agent of the court unless he's a masis, unless he's someone that's convincing people to worship idols, because over there you're not allowed to have compassion. It would be an exception where the son would be allowed to. Okay. There's a new Mishnah here. It says, Hamake Aviv Imai, someone that strikes his father and his mother, like we learned in the Gemara. He's only chayav if he makes a wound that's letting blood. There's a stringency of cursing over striking. Is chayav. If he curses him after he passes away, then he's chayav. But if he strikes him after he passes away, then he's pater. Tan Rabbanan was taught in the Brisa. The Gemara is going to elaborate on this. Avivi Mekila, the pasuk says, person that curses his father and his mother, he's cursed his father and his mother. It says that he should be put to death. So that extra pasuk that repeats a person that curses his father and mother is cursed. So that extra pasuk is coming to teach me even lacher misa, even after the father or mother passed away. Sheyachol, because I could have thought differently. Since if he strikes his father, he's chayiv, and he curses his father and mother, is also chayiv. Just like when it comes to striking, it's only while he's alive. So too, when the cursing would only be while he's alive. Then also, this is following differently than the Gemara that we learned before. We learned before that they were makish. They did a comparison. By cursing, it says that he has to be only someone that's observant. There's a prohibition to curse. Someone that's not observing, there's no prohibition to curse. And then we did a comparison, same as with striking, that it's only if he's observant there'd be this prohibition. Over here, this Gemara does not hold of that. This Gemara says, I'll give you a kal v'chaimer. So look at this. When it comes to striking, we don't care if he's observant or not. But and nevertheless, after Misa, even we're so strict, even if he's not observant, you still can't strike a parent. And nevertheless, Lacha Misa, he's exempt. Mekala, when it comes to cursing, we are We do not make that stringency. We say only if he's observant. In a din shlei chai b'lach mitzvah, for sure you shouldn't be chayav after death. So that would be what I thought without the pasuk. The Talmud Lemar of Kilal lachem misa. That teaches me of Kilal. He curses his father and mother. That teaches me that even after death, there's still going to be a same punishment. Okay. Hanichel Rabbi Yonasan. The Gemara gets into this complication over here without telling us first the complication. That we're gonna tell us the machlekes Rabbi Yonasan. We've had it before many times, but there's a machlekes between Rabbi Yonasan and Rabbi Yoshia. The Gemara says, but the way you just explained it, Hanichel Rabbi Yonasan the Ma'aseh Krav V'imay. According to Rabbi Yonasan, we actually have the extra pasuk of Avavi Mekilo, and therefore they're able. This pasuk is able to tell me that the chiyuv of cursing the punishment is also after death. That would fit according to Rabbi Yonasan. El Rabbi Yoshia, but according to Rabbi Yoshia, which we're about to explain, what are we going to say? We don't have the extra pasuk of Avim Kilo. So how do we know this? Tanya was son and Raisha. Ish says a man. Matamalam ish. Why does it say a man? Talking about that curses his ish Ashay Kala, right? Let's say ish. Lurabe's bas is coming to include it doesn't have to be a man, it could also be a girl. Something about dragoness. And it could be those other types of underdeveloped. Either androgynous that sexually underdeveloped, he doesn't have a definitive gender, or a tumtum that is covered up. That curses his father and his mother. We go on. Only if he curses both. Aviv shlei imay, imay shlei aviv. How do you know if he curses one? Same halacha should apply. Aviv imay kilo. Aviv kilo, imay kilo, div Rabbi Yeshia. Rabbi Yeshia said, Rabbi Yeshia holds that Aviv imay kilo is coming to divide it up. Tell me that whether it's the father, whether it's the mother, it doesn't need to be both. Same prohibition will apply. Rabbi Yonasan says no. I don't need a pasuk to teach me that only even one of them would have the same prohibition. Whenever you use the word and, you really mean the or. Unless you say both or together. Unless the pasuk says together or both, then we think that it means or this or that. So according to Rabbi Yonasan, the pasuk of Avavi Mekilel is coming to tell me the extra halach that even after death. That's according to Rabbi Yonasan because that pasuk is extra. According to Rabbi Yoshia, that needs the pasuk to tell me that it doesn't need to be both father and mother. So what do I need? So how do I know that after death is the same prohibition? How will we know this? According to Rabbi Yeshua. He will learn it that even after death, there's another pasuk that says kalal aviv v'imay. So because of that pasuk, that's going to be an extra pasuk. What does Rabbi Yonasan do with that pasuk? It says Rabbi Yonasan uses that to teach me that even if it's not even if it's not a man that curses, even if it's a daughter or tumtum and dragoness, the same thing will apply. Now we learned that from Ish. So the Gemara is going to ask that in a second. But typically Ish. Why do you need the pasuk? You have Ish. So it says Dibber Klashim and the other. Rabbi Yonasan holds that he doesn't learn from Ish. That's a classic way of talking. That's a regular vernacular. And so we don't learn from Torah speaks in that language also. You can't learn from that. Like Rabbi Shmuel's view.
It's a cop out there that's every once in a while. You can't come up with an answer.
Right.
That's just the default answer.
Listen, Chaimer b'makmim makalo. we said in the Mishnah, we said this is what's stricter about cursing than by striking, because cursing applies even after death. So the Gemara says 1 second, but I also have a stringency of striking that doesn't apply to cursing. For example, when it comes to cursing, the person has to be, the father and or mother need to be observant to get the punishment. When it comes to striking, even if they're not observant, the punishment is still there. So we should have went both ways. We should have said, I have a stringency of the cursing, which applies even after death. I have an astringency of the striking, which applies even if the father's not observant. So Kosovar, the Gemara answers, Makshinan Hakal Klala. No, both of them have the exemption if the father's not observant, because we do the comparison, like the Gemara said on the page before. Okay. Lema Hani Tanai Kani Tanai. Let's say that these Tanaim follow the same opinion of other Tanaim. The Tani Chad, because I have two brises. One brisa says like this: Kuti at mitzvah al akasi vi at mitzvah al kalasi. Your mitzvah, you're commanded not to strike a kuti, but you're not commanded not to curse a kuti. But I have another brisa that says that you're not commanded not to strike the kuti. So Savrua, the Gemara's understanding from these two brises, the Kuli Alma Kutigeri Emsim, that the Kutim are really Jewish. My Labakamifikis, so what's the machlekes between the two? They're Jewish, the only thing is they're not observant. So what's the difference between these two brises? Well, there's a machlekes now.
That's a dangerous statement.
The Marsav Makshina Kalaklala, one says that we do a comparison, that when it comes to cursing, the person needs to be observant for it to be a prohibition. So when it comes to striking, there's only a prohibition if he's observant. The other brisa holds that when it comes to cursing, he needs to be observant, but not when it comes to striking. Even if he's not observant, the same thing would apply. Umar says, not so. Okay, now 1 second. What would that tell me? That would be the machlekes. We said we didn't say in the Mishnah the stringency of the makkah over the makala, right? We didn't say that in the Mishnah. And the reason why we said is because there is no stringency of the makkah over the makala. Why is there no stringency? Because we said we're going to compare the makala, the one that curses, that there's a limitation that the father needs to be observant. We're going to compare that to also by striking, that only if he's observant you would have that issue. However, we had another brisa before where we said that no, that we didn't do that comparison. We're saying that over here we have two opinions over here, which is exactly that same machlekes. Do we do the comparison akal klala, or do we don't do the comparison? Because we're dealing with a kuti that's really converted. The question is, but since he's not observant, are you allowed to strike him?
Right.
Umar says, you have no proof that that's what these two brises are referring to. Kuli alma le'makshin akal klala. Everyone holds that we don't do the comparison, and therefore, when it comes to striking, there's a leniency. It's only if he's observant. I'm sorry, when it comes to cursing, it's only if he's observant. When it comes to striking, then even if he's not observant. I'm sorry. Again, this is a machlekes. Are they real converts or are they converts because of the lions? Maybe they're not even Jewish. That's the machlekes. That's the case. And the Tani Allah of Israel, they're not even Jewish. Why do you say that their ox is just like a Jew? It strikes if one of a Jewish ox that gores a ox of a non-Jew. It depends if it's a tam or a non or a muad. Depends if half price or full price. However, Right. Feet. If it's different, if the ox of a Jew gores a ox of a non-Jew is exempt, doesn't have to pay. And if an ox of a non-Jew gores the ox of a Jew, then he has to pay full price. That's why you're saying that Sheirei ki Yisrael, El Shema Mina, you can't do this. Shema Mina, we learned from this that actually Bekesha Pligi, exactly the machlaikas that you thought it was, that do we do the comparison, Hakah to Klala, if they're observant or not, that's actually the machlaikas. There's two opinions. Okay.
Here, he's bringing up
Idolater, yeah, I guess because we're saying the kuti is an idolater. Okay, let's leave it here. Shukayach. We're behind. I didn't prepare more. I didn't prepare more, so I mean I could figure it out, but